giving you a voice.
Affairs and other members of the high table of the greatest Nigerian student.
Great.
As earlier announced by the master of the ceremony, my name is Agbowo. I'm a lawyer. By the special grace of God, I'm a special assistant to the governor of Enugu State. I am here in dual capacity, or perhaps triple capacity. One, I represent myself in this event, and I represent equally two characters that are of eminent importance to our generation. And one of them is Engineer Vita Abba, the House of Reps hopeful of People's Democratic Party from Nsukka and Igweze South Federal Constituency. And I also represent a business mogul, a child of this university, pharmacist Chika Ugoke, who is unavoidably absent in this occasion. I equally wish to state that I'm honored to be here today, and I'm very much happy because one, I'm a product of this institution. Not just a product of this institution by the fact that I attended my university here, but I did my primary school here. I did my secondary school here, and then proceeded to UNN for my LLB, and currently undergoing my LLM in the same institution. I was born and bred here, medical center here. So you can see that I am deep-rooted and the best person to speak to you this afternoon. However, before this notice came, I already had my own program for today. We are at Agbowo for the campaign rally, which of course I'm supposed to be there. But when I got a call to be here, and equally that I will be speaking to my generation, I decided to come. So therefore, I'll be speaking to you extempore. I didn't write my speech down, so you take it the way it comes. Now, the topic, as I was told, was is Student Union Government in 21st century. A very striking one at that. Student Union Government in 21st century. Now, before I proceed, I want to bring it to our mind that one, so many countries in the world, and Nigeria in particular, have not been able to interpret the role of student unionism in their various universities. Appropriately, they have not. And the reason is not far-fetched. And I will tell you in the course of this discussion. I decided to allow Prof. I decided to seek for permission from Prof. to speak before him, because I know that immediately he's done with his speech, he may likely leave. And some of the things that I would like to drop today may really help the university in the peaceful administration of the school. And it may not go down well with him in one way or the other, but I will say it. Of course, I'm no longer a student in the sense that anybody will begin to go after me. So I think I have the authority to speak truth to the university. Now, many universities are prescribing student unionism on campus. Why some new universities are even avoiding creating it entirely? The reason is because most times they see student unionism as impediment, threat to some of the things, some of the policies of the school that are not quite in favor of the students. And most time, these particular policies that the students will always confront to challenge this university about it are those policies that the school can actually sit down and actually read and check whether such actually affect the students or not. Now, what is student unionism or student government? Student government is simple. The institution or organization of students in a synergized form to seek for relationship among themselves to protect and defend their rights. It is as simple as that. But most often the university will always see this institution as threats, because most often before the university will get to understand the plight and complaints of these students, it is always on the hard way. History has it that far back as at 1925, student unionism has started. And we have the likes of Ladipo, Solanke, the likes of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe and Awolowo. These are men that met somewhere overseas and decided to form what is called West African Student Union Government. And thereafter they brought it down to our region, started from Yabatek and all of that. And the most striking qualities about these people is that prior to the independence, these students were at the forefront demanding quality education, demanding quality leadership, demanding liberation and self-rule, far back as at independence. But the question is this still the position as it is now? If as at pre-colonial era, we have men that stood up to say that this thing is not just, it is not fair, it is inimical to our own interest and future. What about the students of 21st century? Now, because we are no longer courageous like those men I mentioned, we are no longer strong, we are no longer prepared to face whatever becomes the consequences. We are always dancing to the tunes of the university in various policies that we know that are quite unfair to us. ASU was on strike for about 8 months. It was only on one occasion that some students came out to do what I consider as unhealthy protests, and just went around some different cities and all of that, and they went back home and relaxed. Gambling with your own future and your own generation. But if it were those days when men of integrity who were prepared to face the consequences and let the just be done, peradventure, ASU wouldn't have been on strike for the past 8 months. However it is, as God may have it, it was resolved, partly, but the threat is still staring on our face. Now, thereafter, after ASU strike, this university resumes activities, and here we hike in the school fees. And one night, some persons did one demonstration, and some persons were called, and it was resolved, and students started paying. So why am I saying this? If you are a generation that want to seek justice, you must have to bear the consequences. You must have to rise up to the challenges. I was one of the students then in UNEC that stood against some policies of the university, and I was very strong about it. To the point that even while we were leaving the school, we thought that maybe probably our names are already on the black book. Because as usual, the students will always be threatened with if you do this or if you do that, that eventually your name will enter the black book, and that will be the end of your stay in the university. But that is wrong. That is right. That is absolutely false. Because we've had cases where we challenge the university, and where the university is taken to court. At the end of the day, verdict is returned in favor of the students. One of the cases I was able to project while we were in school, which is also reported in one of the law journals, is the Ikebundu and the University of Nigeria. And immediately they saw that suit pending in court. They called immediately for peaceful reconciliation of that particular issue. What actually happened? A student came out to contest for an election. All of a sudden, he was indicted of being a cultist. And some of us who actually can attest to his character and pedigree stood our ground and said no. If there is any other ground you wish to disqualify this particular student, please go ahead. But if it is on the ground of being a cultist, then that is false. And we need to establish it. And the university insisted that we proceeded to court. We proceeded to court against the university. And courts were coming in here and there that if you don't withdraw this matter, that most of us will not graduate. But it was the university that later called, and we sat down and resolved it. And he was allowed to proceed to do what? To contest for that election. And one of the scenarios, I think, repeated in this recent election that produced the vice president and the current SUG president, where one lady was actually disqualified for whatever reason it was. I was actually the lawyer who was at the forefront. But however it is, when Professor Edwin Ahmed, when I called him to make certain inquiry, and the ground was actually clear that there were some security threats surrounding that situation, we decided to hang on without proceeding. So what am I saying this? As a unionist, you should be ready to damn the consequences. The first generational set of students, activists, were not just brutal, they were militants. They were people of courage. They were people of pedigree. They stood their ground until what you and I are enjoying today is meant to be. So I encourage us that if we are actually students of 21st century unionists, we should be able to look up beyond now. We should be able to be courageous enough to place ourselves in such a way that we become a cynosure of attraction where people cannot really take us for granted. And I encourage us to be participatory. Most of us are taking the things of the union as just bypass. But I commend the organizers of this program for pulling this number out of the many numbers that are in the school, because it is a thing, the records are there. Most often when you have this kind of program, when it is about lectures and symposiums, most of the students don't usually attend. But if the last day of this program, which may likely go with a night party and night event, you will see all of them trooping out from their hostel, half naked and all of that, to come and dance at night. Of course, that is what they will always appreciate more. But when it comes to where they will be educated and developed, just like the previous speakers that spoke before me, you will see them bending their heads and hiding their faces. I therefore encourage us to be a voice. 2023 is around the corner. We are looking at a revolutionary state. We are looking at those days where we take up some challenges like the Russian students, like the English students of those days, like the French students of those days who stood against injustice. We hear so much about Martin Luther King, we hear so much about Nelson Mandela of South Africa and the apartheid system of government. Today, he enjoys the glory. But when you read meanings and you read in-depth into the activities of the apartheid system of government and how it came to an end, you saw how students were actually active in joining their voices to liberating the South Africa. And today we have a mess. Today, so many things are not going well in this country, and students are keeping quiet. Students are keeping quiet in the sense that we are not being proactive to some of the activities we ought to. I therefore encourage us to be vocal. I therefore encourage us to be up and doing. I therefore encourage us to be participatory and build a better leadership for this country. Thank you and God bless you.
A legal webinar is always a legal webinar. God bless you, sir, for that.
So personally, what advice do you have for student entrepreneurs?
I encourage them to keep on. I encourage them to move beyond the classroom, because beyond even the fact that there is no employment, so to say, there is this unsatisfaction when one is engaged in salary employment, and you get more relaxed, you get more time for yourself, you get more time when you are self-employed, when you acquire skills beyond what you have learned. So I advise them to acquire skills while they are here, because the challenges are there outside this particular institution.
So, as the special assistant to the governor, what are those strategic ways you think the governor should use to get this skill acquisition program to the grassroots? I said, as a special advisor, if you're to advise the governor right now, what are those strategic ways you think he should use, those measures he should use to get these acquisition programs to the grassroots?
One, organizing a skill acquisition program where the students will be lectured, where they will be tutored on how to get the skills. Launching such a program would be an avenue where students will get this awareness that acquiring skills beyond the 4 shores of the university, it would be a positive advantage to them. So it is one way I know that can actually bring this awareness we are talking about.
All right, thank you so much, sir.